is, what is my title? Could you bring my title slide up? Or am I not in charge? Am I in charge? I'm in charge. Yay, look at this. All the power resides in this. So today, what it does. By the way, today's Ernest Holmes' birthday. So the founder of our philosophy, today is his birthday. And so I just thought it was kind of cool to be up here doing this today. Their first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook is what we call the founding chapters. This is the foundation of our teaching. And when you go through those 4 chapters, you basically get a very brief summary of what it's like to go into the science of mind, and then every chapter after that just builds on these first 4, okay? So my job is to teach you what it does. Now, for those of you here for the very first time, whenever you see a capitalized letter like what it does, we call it. You can call it God, you can call it spirit, you can call it a bagel. I don't care what you call it. Whatever the power is, that whatever you identify with as the power in your life, that's what it is. The reason why we call it is because as soon as I call it something else, someone takes offense to it, right? So instead of taking it, now I just use God. You're going to hear me hear God and universe all the time. But again, it's all what you choose to call that power, all right? So my friends, I've been talking and watching on this online thing about, let's be more Christian-like. Let's be more like Jesus. So I decided to find out and give you some pointers about what I intend to do this year that is more in line with the teachings of Jesus. I intend to hang out with sinners. Can I hear an amen? Amen. Hell yeah. I want to upset religious people. Tell stories that make people think. Ooh. Choose unpopular friends. Right? Be kind, loving, and merciful. And I want to take naps on boats. So there you go. So this is the year that I'm going to do that. I want you to say this affirmation with me right now. Together, please. I cast the mold. The universe fills it with my experience. Say it again. I cast the mold. The universe fills it with my experience. Now, it's really interesting. When I started learning about the science of mind, I was in Redondo Beach, and Dr. Frank Richelieu would talk about casting the mold. Casting the mold. And I was trying to think, what is he talking about? And then when he began to say this, he's like, okay, look, Joe, or not Joe, but to everyone else, it's almost like this. It's like you cast a mold, and then the universe pours the spiritual stuff into the mold, which manifests itself in whatever you're looking to manifest in your life. And I always used to think that I'm not supposed to cast the mold. There's something bigger than me that's supposed to tell me what the mold is supposed to look like. And what I realized growing up, and especially diving deeper into this teaching, is that no, that's not the case. The universe is saying, Joe, show me your mold, and I will fill it up with your demonstration. Fill it up with that spiritual stuff. Fill it up with the opportunities and the situations for your manifestation to take place. Now, it doesn't say I'm going to fill it up and then give it to you and have it delivered via UPS. Okay? It's saying, I'm going to give you everything you need to make, when the mold comes out, you can work whatever is cast into it, and it can produce the thing of your dreams. You still have to do the work. All right? So here we go. First part. Mental work is definite. Our prayer work is definite. Each state of thought taps the same principle. Each uses the same law, the spiritual law, is inspired by the same spirit, but draws forth a different result. Unity passes into variety. Now, many of you have heard this example, but it's the best example I can find. I want you to visualize, if you will, this power cord, this big, huge power cord going from one side of this room all the way to the other. There is one power in the universe. We all tap into that one power. Now, over here, we'll call it, not you specifically, but over here, we're going to call this is amazing stuff happening in my life. And over here, we're going to say, what the hell is happening to my life? But what we have to understand is you and I, we have a choice about where we want to clip onto that power. Because the same universe that created all of life is creating your life based on where you decide to hook up to it. Does this make sense? And that's why we draw different results. Because not one person in here believes the same way another person believes. And so their results are always different. And if you try to replicate what someone else does, have you ever noticed that it just doesn't work out the same way for you as it did for them? Why? Because their life experience and where they fall on that power cord is always different than yours. So you can't try to duplicate someone else's life. All you want to do is make sure that when you're doing your work, your definite mental work, which means everything you're thinking about every moment of the day, this constant thing, what do we say? You have 200,000 thoughts a day, right? Or something like that crazy number. Whatever that is. Just pretend it's 200 for me. All those thoughts are part of the mold that you're casting that become the demonstration based on your belief and based upon where you're hooking into the energy. Are you following me? Right, good. Next one. It is a beautiful and true thought to realize that everyone stands in the shadow of a mighty mind, a pure intelligence, and a divine givingness. There are no exceptions to the rule. Even people that you would look at and go, there's no way that they can stand in the presence of this power and call themselves good. They're still using the same power. And sometimes we don't like what some people are doing. Sometimes we love what people are doing. But we all stand in the power. You stand in the power. Do you grasp that? Try to grasp that just a little bit more. There's nothing random about this. There's nothing coincidental about this. This is how your life is going to play out when you decide that this is how I might want my life to unfold. Now, that doesn't mean that there might be life events that you have to move through to get there. That doesn't mean that you're going to follow the yellow brick road to Oz and everything's going to be, laid out in front of you. There are twists and turns. But you stand in the shadow of the mighty power, and it's beautiful to realize that all that everyone ever had, you have as well. Are we good? Are you bored? No. Good. This is one of my favorite slides. The arrogant have not perceived the simplicity of faith, but the pure in heart see God. We have made a riddle out of simplicity. Therefore, we have not read the sermons written in stones, nor interpreted the light of love running through life. So just hit pause for just a second. And one of the most common phrases you hear in science of mind is, change your thinking, change your life. No. Isn't that sweet? Try it. Try it. It sounds really simple, doesn't it? And when you come to class and you learn and you study and you go, oh my gosh, I think I got it. And then suddenly something backtracks you and you're like, wait a minute. This isn't supposed to happen because I've changed my thinking. No. You know what? You still can't help the other things in the universe are going to happen, but you can change how you view what's happening in that situation. You don't always have to go back to how you used to treat things anymore. You can change the way you look at them, and what do they say? When you change the way you look at things, things begin to change, right? Well, those are really nice phrases, aren't they? You want to sing Kumbaya when you're hearing those things. Life is great, my Lord, life is great. And you're like, what the hell? Life is not great. And you think, but Joe keeps telling me this. No. Joe is saying that we've taken it and made it a riddle. And you know what the riddle is like. I'm going to tell you what the riddle is like. Anyone ever wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and spin and spin and spin in your head about what am I going to do next? and then you go down all these different roads in your mind. None of them are leading where you want to go at that hour, right? That's not a good hour to be contemplating your future. But you're going down this road, you're going down this path, and you make it so complicated, like, well, okay, so I'll be happy, I'll be happy when this happens, and then this happens, and then this person leaves my life, and this person comes into my life, and then that person leaves my life too, and then that one knows to come back to me, right? Anyone? Right? If it's happened to you, say amen. Amen. God, see, I love you. Because you know what? We're all the same. There's so much sameness in this room because we have learned to just mentally overreact to everything. And the internet does not help. WebMD is your worst nightmare. Okay. So he says this. These are all his quotes. To return to a sane simplicity is one of the first and most important things to do. Stop. Stop. Take a breath. Just take a breath. There are really, and over 20 some odd years in ministry, there are very few things that are life and death at the moment, even though we place the severity of it on things less than that. Does that make sense? We give everything the importance of it is so dramatic. But to return to a sane, in a world that sometimes feels insane, but for you, not to teach someone else, but for you to sit in your seat and say to myself, to return to a sane simplicity is what I want. And I'm going to breathe that in now in this moment. I'm not going to allow all this other stuff to spin. Rather, the simplicity of this idea of casting the mold, letting the universe put in the spiritual stuff, let that mold come out of construction, out of engineering, and then you begin to look at the opportunities, situations, scenarios, and people that come into your life to help you manifest that which the mold you had just cast. Are you following the logic? Together, please. I cast the mold, the universe fills it with my experience. Oh, we can do better than that. Do it again. I cast the mold, the universe fills it with my experience. Undoubtedly, this is Dr. Holmes, undoubtedly we are surrounded by and immersed in a perfect life, a complete, normal, happy, sane, and harmonious and peaceful existence. You've got to be kidding me, right? Does everyone feel this way? Because if you do, I don't know why you're here. You know, if you felt that way all the time, you'd be church smirch. Who cares? I'm going to brunch. There's a drag queen singing something I want to see. But I love this. You know what? We are surrounded by and immersed in. So why do we make the individual decision to voluntarily suffer? Things happen in our life. Things happen in our life. And you can't change them. But you can change how you view whether you want to be a victim of it or how you want to be victim on day 1, volunteer on days 2 through the rest of your life. Yes. You don't have to volunteer to live in the pain. Now, that's easier said than done. I get it. But until you start to cast the mold of healing, your belief system is that you must suffer. And so you cast the belief that I must suffer, and as a result, your mold is cast that says suffer, and that because the spiritual stuff cannot tell you what's right or wrong, you choose where you want to hook up. The spiritual stuff that's going in said, you want to suffer, you shall suffer, and suffer abundantly, pressed down and flowing over. Doesn't that suck? God, I hate that part. Then I saw this. I like this. Please don't disturb my peace if you are at war with yourself. He didn't say that, but I found that. How many people are at war with themselves and bring you into battle? Right? And because you love them, you suit up. You go with them. Please don't disturb my peace if you're at war with yourself. So he says this, but only as much of this life as we embody will really become ours to use. This concept is wonderful and fraught with tremendous significance. It has bound up our hopes, our fears, our expectations, and our future and present realizations. Now, when we say this, when we say, but only as much of this life as we can embody will really become ours to use, here's the phrase that tells you where you are on that idea. Well, that will never happen to me. Well, what did you just tell the universe? Ain't gonna happen. Thank you, Walter. It's not gonna happen. And the universe says, you say, it ain't gonna happen. Cast the mold. It ain't gonna happen. The universe says, okay, here's the spiritual stuff to prove you right. And then you say, see, I told you. Then all these things start happening which support the idea that it's not going to happen. It's like, but who cast the mold? It's not going to happen. I can't believe it. And then you get into the old, I'm not worthy of it because my mom told me this or my dad told me this or one of your many exes told you something else. And you've allowed it to become part of your mold. And then you prove yourself right. You see, you can prove your principles to prove you right by making something lousy in your life because the universe can't distinguish between right or wrong. It wants to do right. It wants all the good in the universe is yours to use, but you get to figure out how to use it. If the universe would have protected us from things that we shouldn't have done, are you kidding me? How my life would have been, all of our lives would have been so different. You wouldn't be nearly as screwed up as you are today. And myself too. I count myself among all that. So why is that? Why is as much as we can embody? Because this. Should all the wisdom of the universe be poured over us, we will only receive that which we are ready to understand and... Yeah. You know, one of the trickiest thing when I came into Science of Mind, I remember Dr. Richelieu was teaching us about prayer. And he's like, and he would use these words. You make your demand upon the universe. You stake your claim for your good. And I'm like, me tell God that this is mine. Staking my claim. Making my how can I make a demand on the universe? I'm going to go to hell. If I do that, I'm going to go to hell. That was my belief. But there's some truth in this. When we begin to understand and accept that all the wisdom is available to us, and we begin to embody it, the more you understand and the more you accept, the better your life becomes. And I can tell you, when you're not doing it, then you're demonstrating and you can see it. You can feel it. You feel it in your pocketbook. You feel it in your health. You feel it in your relationships. You feel it in your creativity. So I'm not saying you're going to turn around and go, well, I accept and believe all of it, and then suddenly, poof, you know, you're in Emirates first class going off to Dubai and living on a yacht or something, right? It doesn't work that way. The key is to see yourself moving in the right direction. Sometimes it moves fast. Sometimes you feel like you're 10 steps forward, a couple steps back. The key is when you take the couple steps back, don't cast the belief that it's all going to fall apart or you're going to take more steps back. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Hope is a subtle illusion. This is part of the teaching that I really had a hard time. This is one of the things I had a hard time grasping. And I say that because when I was first in classes, this is the stuff. These are the first 4 chapters. This was the stuff that confused me at the beginning. And so I share it with you because maybe this confuses you too, or has in the past. Hope is a subtle illusion. Many people correctly begin their prayer in this manner: I know that the principle of intelligence within me will direct me. Then they complete it with the thought, well, I certainly hope that will happen. This entirely forgetting any definite statement and is simply wondering if possibly some good will come along. This is not a correct prayer. It is not the scientific use of this principle. Hope is good. It is better than despair. But it is a subtle illusion and an unconscious compromise, and has no part in an effective mental prayer. I don't want to hope things get better. Hope is better than despair, but I don't want to hope. I want to know. I want to know. And so when I use those words, and I begin to accept those words, and begin to embody those words, I don't need luck or hope. I don't need randomness. I need knowing. I need to know that my life, whatever it is in my life that I want to change in my life, I need to know that the power of the universe is for me and will do this with me, as it will cast the mold and I will move forward with it. But I have to know it, not hope. Because when you do a prayer and you go, God, I hope that worked, what you just said is, well, universe, I don't believe that you're real. I don't believe you're going to give that to me. So hope is an illusion. It's better than despair. I don't want you to say, I can't believe Reverend Joe says hope is awful. You go home and you tell your friends, oh, it's horrible. Why would you, well, who would tell you not to hope, right? To give up hope. No, I want you to enroll knowing. I want you to hook on to knowing and not hoping. Hoping allows an idea of randomness and failure. Same with the word trying. I'm going to try. No, do. Move it. Whatever. Here we go. Are y'all bored? No. All right. Together, please. I cast the mold. The universe fills it with my experience. Keeping your eyes. Okay, now here's what we're going to do, an exercise. Right? I want you to keep your eyes open. Actually, no, close your eyes. We're going to do this. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. I want you to imagine your wallet, your checkbook, your online bank account. And I want you to go like this. Oh. Right? Right? Do it again. Oh. Okay, open your eyes. Did anything happen to your bank account when you did that? Anything? Anybody? Did you get a deposit in your account when that happened? A passive meditation will never produce an active demonstration any more than an artist can paint a picture by sitting down with their paints and never lifting a brush. You can lie on a yoga mat or a Pilates studio, or you can pickleball yourself or plunge yourself into cold water. You could do all those things to try all these different things. But until you do the work, the mental, definite work. Remember a few months back, maybe about a year ago, I did a thing on prayer, the 5 steps of prayer. Until you start using those 5 steps of prayer, expect that checkbook not to move much. Because a passive meditation, it will get you into the space where you can begin to pray and cast the mold for that which you want. But a passive meditation is not going to move you into a manifestation. It requires movement. Passive, not versus active. Are you with me? So a lot of people are like, you pray that money's going to come into your account. Okay. And how effective has that been? But when you pray for ideas that allow the universe to pour ideas into the mold, so when the mold comes out, you are filled with ideas and a way to create more financial flow, then you begin to demonstrate it. All right. Faith in a certain specific statement has power to consciously oppose, neutralize, erase, and obliterate the opposite mental attitude. When Michael was singing Sledgehammer, the universe is your sledgehammer. It will lay out the tracks. It will move you past illness. It will move you in any direction. Once you have faith in a certain statement, it has the power to consciously oppose and obliterate whatever you're facing. When you believe it, you have a spiritual sledgehammer. It's not a passive thing. It's like, hell no, I'm not doing this anymore. Boom, where am I going? Sledgehammer, break down those obstacles for me, because I believe that once those things begin to move, that my good comes from this, and I'm knowing it, I'm believing it, not hoping it, and I'm allowing things to unfold as they should. But that's what I need. You need a spiritual sledgehammer. So the next time you hear that sledgehammer, you just see it barreling through all your crap that you've created. Does that make sense? Yes. That's why when Mike chose that song, I went, how the heck am I going to parlay sledgehammer into a part of a teaching? But now it made sense. When I erase and obliterate, I want to be that sledgehammer. The universe wants to be the guiding force which will bust you out all of these things. But you have to do your part of it. It's not just going to happen. You have to do your part. So how much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. Do you believe that? So tentative. So tentative. I don't. There are times I do, there are times I don't. In my humanity, when something hits the fan, there are times I hit the fan too. I'm a human being. But what I'm striving for, and this is the key, is not to be the same person yesterday that I was, or today that I was yesterday, or a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, but to be a person who will know how much of can I have? I can have all of it. Joe, you can have all of this. Now, it doesn't come, now let me talk about all of it. We've talked about this before. When you say you want all of it, you say you want a relationship, you're going to get all of it. I have prayed many person into a relationship, and I have prayed many person out of a relationship. So how much of it can you have? All of it. Just make sure you know what all of it means. Because sometimes all of it looks really good on paper. But when you buy it, you go, whoa, that doesn't make sense to me. So, how much of it can you use? As much as you can embody. So it's all there available to me. And the more I embody, the greater the demonstrations. And it's funny, I've been interviewed by somebody who wants to write a book and just write a book about me. And we were talking about it, and he's like, do you realize, Joe, that when you go back to when you, before Science of Mind, that you were using this power your whole life, and you didn't recognize it. And then you went into Science of Mind, you began to recognize it. And once you began to recognize it, you began to really use it. And once you began to really use it, things really began to change for you. And then when you began to embody the principles of financial freedom and right, loving relationships, things really began to change for you. Joe, you can see it in this timeline, and you can see the acceleration that happened when you moved into it. Things happened slowly when I thought I was doing it on my own. When I bought into the belief and embodiment and accepted it, things began to happen very quickly. Some of them good, but all of them I brought into my life by choice. Sometimes I made the wrong choice. And I wasn't punished. It was the natural consequence of making a bad choice. God didn't punish me. God didn't say, Joe, bad. You shall suffer and suffer abundantly because of what you did. No, not at all. I did that because I made some really lousy choices at times. Usually when I wasn't doing things in alignment and I wasn't doing my spiritual practices. Another one, I'll just say it out there, when I wasn't tithing, we went through financial troubles. When I wasn't tithing, Trey and I began to have financial issues, and I'm like, okay, we got it. I can see where we're not doing something right. And as soon as we picked that back up again, things began to move. Same with my relationships, same with my physical body. So finally, you've heard that Jesus take the wheel. The universe isn't going to let anything drive your life but you. You take the wheel and start driving using this principle. Together, please. I cast the mold, the universe fills it with my experience, and so ends the lesson. Thank you very much, everybody.